and share that. And we do that through people, through Peace Corps volunteers. So these are U.S. Americans who have most likely finished school. Our average age is about mid-20s, but we also have volunteers in their 60s, 70s, 80s volunteering around the world that are also retired and choose to serve in another country and spend 2 years of their life. That is our typical program for volunteers. We also have volunteers who serve less time, and then we have volunteers who are participants who actually share their time virtually. And we virtually. It's a new program that came out of COVID. It was actually one of our partnering countries said during COVID, we, like most people, the world changed, our agency changed. We had volunteers that had to be evacuated and go back to the U.S. And our host countries were saying, but can you still support? And Peace Corps responded. And we said, what does it look like to still serve, but virtually? And it meant still doing the cultural pieces, the language, and the technical pieces. And so we have that model as well.
So it's like company, right? Like actually being with them, even though they're not physically there. Like you do have like the communication.
Yes, it's all through the virtual pieces of it. But really at the end of the day, we're still looking for that connection. And I think that's why it's 2 years, is because sometimes it takes that long to really build
I believe
connection.
That's one of the biggest challenges of the pandemic, to be online. And I would like to know more about it. And it was difficult for you and Peace Corps to do things online?
It was, because a lot of our work is that cultural connection and connecting in a different language, being able to meet those technical needs in person. We place volunteers in, we go through a very extensive process to know where to put our volunteers. And placing volunteers is with a community. Oftentimes here in El Salvador, they live with host families, and that's a big part of the experience. So to do that virtually was and is, I think, a different challenge, but I also think COVID changed the way we operate. And sometimes you have to meet the moment, and we were challenged to do that too. So our virtual participants also get trained and are connected. We were originally only recruiting those who had previously been volunteers. I think we've now opened it up to others, but it's a different way to meet the moment.
Yeah. And talking about challenges and experiences, because you mentioned that some of the volunteers live with families here in El Salvador, I would like to know about the history, because I made some research and I found that Peace Corps established here since 1962. So I would like to know how has its presence in the country evolved, and what are its main areas of work today?
So as you mentioned, since 1962, Peace Corps has done many different things here. What hasn't changed is our goals to meet the needs of Salvadorians, also to exchange the culture of American culture here and bring the Salvadorian culture back. That hasn't changed in the 60 plus years. What has is how we do the work and what we're doing. The process to decide that also has not changed. So we're still talking and working with partner organizations at the national level, and we talk to them. In fact, when we came back in 2023, we met with national partners, the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Economy, Ministry, like U.S. partners as well, Ministry of Tourism, the organization Conamipe here. And we were like, what are the main priorities? And those were, a lot of it was youth. It's economic growth. We heard that very clearly from the current administration here. And then we take that and then work with communities. Where's the ministries working? Where are the priorities? Which communities? And talk to community leaders about youth, about economic growth. What does that mean? And then from there, we design programs. So in early years, we worked in agriculture, we worked in health, we worked with youth, all the way through today, which we're really focused in two areas, and that is youth development and supporting youth to be leaders in their communities, and also economic growth. So individuals, especially women and youth, who tend to be more marginalized populations around the world, increase their economic opportunities, specifically around small businesses.
Yeah, that's really nice. Like in everything that you do, actually, it's really cool.
I think it's
But
cool
yeah,
too.
talking about volunteers and how you do programs and everything, what does it really mean to be a volunteer?
Oh, that's such a good question. I think people define volunteerism or being a volunteer very differently. I also think about it very culturally. Before our volunteers come, they have to write aspiration statements. Like, why are they signing up for this? Why are you signing up for 2 years to leave your country, leave your home? And a lot of it is about service and service to others. A lot of our volunteers talk about the value of service. And people define service in many different ways, but I think that's the heart of being a volunteer, is recognizing that they have an opportunity to not just give back, but also to connect with and to explore and be curious. And I think it's not just, oh, I'm here to do these. In fact, a lot of it isn't just to help others. In fact, we've walked from that a little bit. It is about the connection and working towards something and working together to build something, is the general concept of how we define volunteerism.
And it's from both sides, right? Like you give and you actually take so much from everybody that you help. It's like both are growing.
That is exactly how we train our volunteers. Is at the end of the day, we're asking them to connect, we're asking them to collaborate, and we're asking them to be a learner. And how to do those things in another language and in another culture is that co-piece, that word. You're co-training, you're co-facilitating, you're learning together. And that partnership that they have with their families, their host families here in El Salvador, and their counterparts. In fact, all volunteers are assigned a counterpart and a work partner. They're not working alone. And it's, in fact, when we interview volunteers when they leave, they say they've learned more than they think they've actually given.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we say, correct, you've done it right then.
We can say that this is like a mutual race because both of the parts need to work in the same thing. And the part that is giving help and the part that is receiving. And both of them have to work together to get, like, let's say, to the goal that it's the volunteerism. And that drives us to the next question, because I want to know about leadership. And the question is, how can volunteer experience contribute to leadership development, both for volunteers and for members of the communities they work with? Yes, I want to make this question because I know you work like as a leader in Peace Corps, so and you have a lot of experience in this topic. So I would like to know more about it.
I love talking about leadership. I think it's one of my favorite things. I think from a volunteer perspective, the characteristics of volunteerism around being a learner, being a collaborator, a facilitator, a connector, those oftentimes are the skill sets that people are looking for when they go back to the U.S. or sometimes people stay here in El Salvador looking for jobs. Those are the hireable qualities. Like if you're looking for people to do technical work, there's technical qualities, but it's oftentimes people who know how to emotionally connect, how to do the technical work by being able to look for exports. You don't necessarily have to be the expert yourself, but being able to connect people, identify priorities to connect people to those experts. Those are those leadership qualities that you often get hired for outside. Our volunteers working with youth here, it's working with youth side by side. In fact, some of our volunteers have youth work partners. supporting youth being volunteers in their own communities to identify a local priority. And so a lot of our volunteers are working with ADESCOs as well, working side by side. And so that, how do you identify a local need in your community? What are ways to problem solve, to come up with creative solutions? And then youth participating to implement a community project, monitor and evaluate that project, and then celebrate the learning. Those are equally leadership qualities that are help people stand out and lead in the future. And those are things that you can do in your own community. Is what are we looking to do? In fact, our projects are youth and community economic development. We have a lot of volunteers working through on water projects because that's been a priority that was identified by the community, and then they're working to have youth then participate in creative solutions to gain access to water in their community. And that means youth are part of that, and they're leading an initiative in their community. They don't have to be a water expert. They can say, well, how can I learn from this technical? And one is exploring with like solar panels. Like none of us are experts in solar panels, but we can train youth to then say, well, how do you maintain these solar panels? And then they're seen as leaders in their community through that way.
Yeah, I saw something about that because I was looking in the official page of Peace Corps, and I found that you have like a YouTube channel focused on the works you did here in El Salvador and the projects. And it was interesting to see how both of the parts work. And when I say parts, I mean American volunteers and people from El Salvador here working alongside together in projects, as you said, water and solar panels.
It's the things we don't think we're going to find. Again, we work with the national level and priorities. We ask community leaders, what are the priorities? And then oftentimes things will pop up. And so then how do we meet those needs as well using these leadership skills? A big piece of what we do with volunteers is we train volunteers and their counterparts in project design and management. How to identify a project, what are the feasibility studies you can use, very specific tools. In fact, all volunteers have to know how to do community mapping, and they do that with their partners, with their counterparts. But the magic that happens with Peace Corps is when counterparts talk to their counterparts, when Salvadorians are connecting with other Salvadorians. Like that for us is creating spaces for that. Those are the real fun, incredible moments.
Yeah, and also like on what we can get from volunteers in here, like what kind of skills or lessons can the young people that are in these communities can get from the volunteers of the Peace Corps volunteers?
It's funny, we have a volunteer right now who is, his counterpart is someone who works in the school, and that counterpart was a student 40 years ago of another Peace Corps volunteer.
Oh, yeah?
And it's been incredible. And we're in touch with this volunteer from 40 years ago, and we showed him a picture, say, here's your student who's now a counterpart of a volunteer. And so I think we tell our volunteers, whether you sign up to be a mentor, whether you sign up to be a role model, you are, especially to youth. I think even our business volunteers who are working to inspire possible and creative solutions oftentimes continue the connections even beyond. And so the technical skill sets are something that our counterparts and community members walk away with around life skills for our youth volunteers. It's entrepreneurship skills, small business skills, how to do budget planning, long-term planning, digital literacy, financial literacy, personal money management. Like those are the very technical skill sets that we train our volunteers to focus on. And then community members as well, like how, for our youth development project, not just working with life skills with youth, but how to train community members to then create spaces for youth to lead. are skill sets that we also train volunteers that tend to linger in the communities.
Well, you mentioned projects like the solar panels and water, and I would like to know how do I'm a bit nervous. How do Peace Corps identify communities' needs, and do the communities like send messages or for help, or do you like make like research in different communities, and how do you develop that project?
Absolutely. I'm nervous too, so it's okay.
Yes, sure.
We use Peace Corps' approach to development to identify national priorities, community priorities, and then also where does Peace Corps fit the niche. Especially for youth, we're collaborating with other NGOs on the ground here with Glasswing and Fusalmo, Asaprosar, around where are they working, where is their geographic footprint, where does it make sense for Peace Corps. We don't bring our own specific curriculum. We want to build and connect with others on that piece. Through that process, we meet periodically with our partners and with counterparts, and then to help us adjust the programming strategy to address our implementation. And then we ask partners, where else should we be working? Each year, we receive a new group of volunteers, and we're growing. We hope to get up to 80 volunteers in the country. And so we are looking for new sites. We're looking for new communities that have strong adescos who have organizations. Right now, we've got a volunteer working with artesanos, comités de emprendedorismo, people who are motivated and want to advance. And so even communities that have strong schools that want to partner with us with camps and clubs. And so through our partners, they help identify sites, but we're also looking for more communities. But we tend to work very rurally. And so we're right now only in some departamentos, but we hope to get to all departamentos in El Salvador.
And can you give like an example of a project that you have?
Yes, we have our youth development volunteers. A lot of them are doing camps and clubs, but they use a medium like art, music, maybe some English lessons to help advance life skills. And so you're using, through music, you can talk about self-esteem. You can talk about your life plans. With our youth development volunteers working with ADESCOs, like with a water project, for example. We're not training volunteers on water, and nor am I a water expert, but they are able to connect communities with those experts, for example. We have our small business, our community economic development volunteers. We have our very first group of 2-year volunteers that just arrived, and then we have a handful of volunteers working with artesanos and getting them formally registered, and they're able to get further training on like import, export, quality marketing. Things that we continue to hear in the community level is even tied to ecotourism. If El Salvador is opening up to so many different ways to bring people here, one thing we heard at a community meeting was we really want to bring tourism. And we kept asking, but ¿qué significa turismo para ustedes? Y me dijeron, es rescatando nuestra cultura. And it just hit with us around then, if you want to bring people to El Rio that's there, then how are you training people? How are you advertising? What does the marketing look like? Who can come and also ayudar en la cosecha de café? Like there's ecotourism opportunities. And so there's marketing and presupuesto. It's long-term planning. Those are things that our volunteers are working for community economic development. And then training, we have a volunteer helping to train a group of youth in how to take tours up a volcano and down. And so English for a specific purpose. We're not teaching English formally, but it's English for a specific purpose to help people come up and down a mountain, to bring those ingresos, right, to the community, that these ingresos stay in the communities.
So you give like the tools to people to be able to grow and to understand more, like how to, keep being like communities. Yeah.
Well, we heard, because in some countries around the world, Peace Corps does help youth learn workforce skills. And we kept hearing, if we teach workforce skills, like job skills, it takes youth out of the communities. And we really want those ingresos that need to stay in the communities.
They, like, get out looking for better opportunities or better things to do so they can get what they need, basically. And you're helping them, giving them tools to stay in the community and grow the community.
With money, like they want their own ingresos también, right? And then invest that back into the community.
I like what you said about how do you connect with people using music and art, because I consider that something that most of the cultures share is music and art, and you're using that like a door to go inside on our culture, and maybe you are practicing like exchanging our culture with your culture. And I liked the answer you mentioned that Salvadorian said that we are trying to save our culture. And I consider that here in El Salvador, we are a country that it's really influenced from other cultures. We have a lot of influence from other cultures, and to save our culture is really important for us as Salvadorians in tourism.
Well, and part of that is it's not just music and art, it's also food.
Yeah,
I think people connect over food. And on the third day, our trainees arrive and they go through grueling 11 weeks of training. And part of that is they're living with families. But the second or third day here, we had them aplaudiendo. They have to learn how to make and eat pupusas. And there's just such power and connection through food as well. Yes.
You like pupusas? Yes, we love
pupusas. Tiene que ser el de maíz with frijol y queso y loroco.
Sure.
That's the only way. Sorry, that's my. That's my
I respect
one.
it. I can respect it.
Thank you. You didn't ask my favorite, but I'm gonna give it.
It's really good to know.
It's good. Maybe we can go eat pupusas to those
Yes.
planets.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I think I won't ever. Now that I've had the best pupusas in the world. You can't just eat other pupusas. Like in the U.S., though, there are many Salvadorians who sell pupusas, but it's never the same as here.
Here they taste like home.
Yes.
They are made with love, so that makes them even more delicious.
Yes, we even had a Peace Corps volunteer compete in the pupusa eating contest last year in Oloquilta.
There's a contest.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a contest.
Okay, I didn't know that.
You're not a Salvadorian.
Now I know. I'm not a Salvadorian, but that's off the topic. So
In November, in case anybody wants to go, in Oloquilta.
November.
Yes. He did not win, but he did really well. We were very proud of him.
Yeah.
let's go with it. So Peace Corps currently works in areas like community economic development and youth. What challenges and opportunities do you see in these areas?
I think since we have a long history here in El Salvador, and we're coming back again. We just, after 8 years of being paused, we came back in 2024. And so we have a huge opportunity in front of us because we're starting again, building the relationships and the connections again. We're very curious where we're going to have successes and where our learnings are going to be. And we're very excited and a huge opportunity in front of us to work with our partner organizations to help really meet the needs as defined by communities here. The challenge we hear the most from our volunteers is they have to learn enough caliche and Spanish to build the confianza. And it's so important, confianza here, and they want to just hit the ground running, and it just takes time to build confianza. And so that's always their challenge. They talk about they just really want to already have like the best friends very like in the 1 month into their living in their sites, but it takes time to build that confianza. So that's oftentimes a challenge, but a fun one because it's the journey.
Yeah, totally. You're gonna
Yeah, and I know that we talk about music and food, the most important thing, and I would like to reinforce that topic with the next question, that is beyond the work carried out in communities, and how does Peace Corps contribute to cultural exchange between the United States and El Salvador?
I think cultural exchange it's hard to describe it. It has to be felt. It has to be experienced. And so the best way our volunteers do this is we have family members who come, their families come and visit. They'll stay with Salvadorian host families as well. They meet the tios y tias and the primos and the nietos. It's awesome to see families come and experience that. We have volunteers globally who are connecting with schools back in the U.S. as well and connecting classrooms to classrooms. I think that's what technology has given us today is you can very much FaceTime and share. We have volunteers who celebrate U.S. holidays with their communities. We have people, cultural exchange. In fact, in the World Cup, we had a volunteer working with youth, and each day they did a different culture of who the team, for example. And so they would celebrate understanding the language, where it is, if they could try a food from that country. So I think it's where our volunteers are the most innovative as well. Especially this year from the U.S., we're celebrating 250 years. There's just a lot of effort to celebrate U.S. holidays in different ways. We even had people dress up in different ways to celebrate culture. I also think what's really great is our volunteers represent many different parts of the U.S., and there are so many different ways that people define American culture, and like from the South and the North and the West Coast and the Midwest. And so a lot of that is also through food exchange, translating. A lot of people will translate recipes as a way, and that way they're learning English, and then they're cooking together. Equally with trying new ingredients in pupusas and having like a different flavor of pupusas, like non-traditional Salvadorian, but using American flavors in pupusas, for example. People have done that as well.
Yeah. Like the pizza taste. Like pizza flavored things.
Yeah,
that would be fun.
Like pupusas locas here.
Yes. Some volunteers, in fact, will make cookbooks and then try different things from different recipes and bring in things from like their grandmother and then also bringing it back of selling cookbooks back in the United States with having like their abuelita aquí que tiene una receta super tradicional, and then it never turns out the same when they take it back to the U.S.
They have like...
But you try.
The thing.
Yes.
I like this topic because I consider that to get along with another person, you first need to know about their culture. And when you learn that person's culture and they learn your culture, you can get along very well with them because you know each other better.
That's why we have our volunteers train so long with families. You have to live with a family because of that. The power of connection is amazing. It's very American of us as direct communicators to want to just come in a room and begin. And I think something I'm very comfortable with, and also big part of training our volunteers is that power of understanding how then to understand a culture and why it's necessary, because that's part of the confianza as well. Yeah.
And for someone who's considering becoming involved in volunteer work, what would you say about the value of giving their time and knowledge in service to a community?
I think oftentimes people think about when you give your time to a community, you're giving up something. And we think of it quite the opposite, is giving your time and being able to support others is some of the best ways you grow. And I highly encourage people to explore and be curious, and you're not giving up your time, you are leaning into growth.
Totally. So I think we're on time for the questions, for the Q&A.
Great.
Yeah, it's time for the questions of our beloved viewers.
Great.
So let's hear them. Back there, do we have questions? Are you people who are listening to us, who are watching us, please ask.
It's your time to ask.
I think it's really nice. I think volunteerism is like a really, really good thing. And I personally would love to be a part of it.
Too, I would like to work like that. I love talking a lot, and to share with other people and learning about other cultures is something really good. Not only because it's interesting, it's something that make us like, I don't know how to say it, sorry, but it like join us like family. It's something.
Yeah, is the
lovely.
Sharing.
Yeah,
like the nice thing is the sharing.
To
not only like learning, but also kind of giving a bit of yourself to everybody that you get around with. I think that's a really cool thing to do.
But it is giving part of yourself.
Yeah.
And I think when we ask our volunteers when they leave, one of the questions we ask them is, what do you think you achieved? And I've had over 10 years the amazing privilege to interview many volunteers, and not one of them have talked about the technical things. They have all talked about the connections they made or the relationships with their host family. They're like, I'm going to miss my host family.
Yeah, exactly. That's the kind of like connection that you do.
Yes.
You live with them. You just like get along with them all the time, and they're like there, and they end up being kind of your family at some point, like a second family.
Yeah, I was just talking with my host mom in Paraguay. We still talk and connect.
It's like you build a relationship with them. And I have an example, but it's not like related with the topic. For example, when you have like parents in other countries and they come to visit you and they stay like 2 weeks, then when they leave, you feel like there's an emptiness in your house. So.
Yes.
But continuing with the questions, we have the first one that is from Natalie, and she says, what kinds of communities and projects have Peace Corps volunteers work with in El Salvador?
So we are in, I think, like 6 of the departamentos, and we are, based on our Peace Corps approach to development, we're looking to place volunteers in rural communities that oftentimes don't have programmatic interventions, being able to and then partner with organizations that have youth projects or financial literacy projects, and then have part of that extension out to those more rural communities. A little bit of the end of the road philosophy are where we're placing volunteers right now. Over the next 2 years, we hope to be in all departamentos, placing volunteers. Again, with the ADESCOs who are willing to work and partner with the entrepreneurship groups, community savings groups, artesanos who are willing to partner with our volunteers. Those are the ones we're looking for. Gracias, Natalia, ¿verdad?
Yeah.
Gracias, Nati.
Natalia.
Would you like to make the second question?
I don't have it, but if you give
That's
Sorry,
partnership
sorry.
right there.
Yeah,
Partnership,
yeah.
yes.
So, what are some of the big cultural shocks the volunteers have faced in our country, and how do they host families help them to face these cultural shocks? Could you share a story about it?
That's
Who's
a
this
nice
from?
one.
I think it's Susana.
Susana. Gracias, Susana. I would say a big cultural shock oftentimes is, as Americans, we really like our alone time. And independence is something that's important to Americans. Not everybody, but can be. And so being part of a Salvadorian family means you don't have to be alone. But that's culturally, it means you're sitting with people. It's amazing. You've got a new mom, a new tia, a new tío, and like primitos, pero primitos que they're like, we still don't know who's primito de quién. That can be a cultural shock because they're used to having that alone time, and then they're like, I'm never alone. And then at the end of their service, they realize, I don't like realizing that culture shock going back to the States is being alone. And so there's the reverse cultural shock. I think I'll have one example. We've got volunteers no longer in country, but she really loved to walk on her own. That was just her way. She loved exercise and wanted to walk on her own. And she thought, I just need to do this by myself. And we're like, great. And then the host mom was always being a mom, like, where is she going? What is she doing? And then the volunteer was like, yes, but she's asking these questions. And we're like, okay, but do you walk every day? She says, yes. And then we asked the host mom, we're like, she's walking. She's like, I know where she walks every day, because you're never alone in a community. Because when she's walking up the mountain,
Everybody knows
where she is.
Yeah.
Everybody knows who she is.
We can say that in our communities we know better each other. We know who's living there, and
Yes.
we are like too close together.
Porque fulano y fulano ya se vieron. And they're just like, and I think there's safety and security in that. I think there's community in that. And I think it's a big, it's a welcomed culture shock where at first people are like, they like the individualistic pieces, and recognizing there's value in a community and what it means to be part of a community, and then missing that when they leave.
They do chismes about you.
Oh, chisme, yes.
Yeah.
Very,
That's-
very big part of community.
That's what my host mom, after I left the community 20 plus years ago, I gotta know my chisme.
Well, continuing with the next question is from Joel, and he says, can you share a moment when you felt truly integrated into the community here in El Salvador?
I think there's, when I felt truly, gracias por la pregunta, Joel, ¿verdad? Thank you, Joel. I think here in El Salvador, I learned Spanish in other places, pero caliche is real. Like, it's the way phrases are real here. And I think when I didn't need our staff to help translate for me, is like I got some of the words, and then I have felt integrated when people want to share that with me. as well. They don't tener la pena. It's like, no, Lindsay, I need to explain to you pan con chumpe. That's like the chisme. Like, you've got to learn these things. And I thought people want me to feel integrated. And I think more than learning the specific words is people reaching out so I could be metido. That for me, I was like, oh yeah, it felt good.
Yeah, most of the people from other countries says that we are like so warm when we talk with people from other countries. We like to make them feel home, to make them feel like they are friends.
I want you to feel proud of your culture, because that is something that should be celebrated. In fact, our volunteers leave with this sense of joy of life that I think is something you should know and feel celebrated for, is that warmth.
I think we are.
Yes.
We're very proud of it. Me, myself, and I. Very proud of it. I think it's a really good thing for people in general to be like so open to meeting new people and to make them feel like at home, at another home. I think that's a really good, like, how do you say it? Like, it's a really good thing to have. I think that people that can make others feel welcome are like the best kind of people.
We're very grateful for our community partners, and specifically our host families who have literally opened their doors, but have really included a foreigner into their family without knowing them. And then you've got to get to know somebody, and somebody who doesn't always speak very good Spanish. It's like, that requires patience, and that can be hard.
But we love when you say something in Spanish. We celebrate that because it's sorry, I forget the words. But it's something really like mesmerizing when you hear someone from other country, from other language, to talk in English to you. You feel like, oh, and you start to talking with them in Spanish, but then are like, I don't know what you say, but I love that.
That's also how like the language connects people. Like you are two complete strangers, and then you know the same language. It's amazing. Like, you know how, like, my language, you know how I communicate, and that just brings you together. Like, it's amazing.
And then know what somebody means.
Yeah.
It's like, this is what they said, but this is what they also mean. That's a cultural shock I think our volunteers have, as well as in the US. I feel like Americans are not afraid to say no. And here, Salvadorans are so nice that they won't say no. And so go around to try to not to say no. And that is just, when our volunteers know how to navigate that, it's beautiful.
You have another question?
Yeah. And we have someone interested in joining Peace Corps, and Natalie says, if you could give one piece of advice to someone considering joining the Peace Corps, what will it be?
So all of our volunteers are from the U.S., are American volunteers. So to that audience, I would say, be open, and being curious means you will be successful. And that, again, if you're interested in growth and learning, I think especially in being able to engage and globally, this is the best way to do that. To our Salvadorian or partners and community members who want to be involved, please reach out to us in our local office here in Peace Corps. We're always looking for communities. We're always looking for counterparts to work alongside of our volunteers. We're always looking for motivated youth who want to continue to be leaders. Please reach out to us. We have a lot of volunteers willing to work alongside you.
And talking about that, like, where can we find places to talk to you, like your social media or like websites or everything, how they're called?
Yes, so we have our Peace Corps website, and even just Googling Peace Corps El Salvador. We do have a Facebook page as well, Peace Corps El Salvador. Our Instagram page is not open at the moment. You can also look, but those are our main spots. Yes, you can through our website and our Facebook.
Nice.
Yes.
That's nice.
Hopefully,
For the
Instagram
ones
will open back up.
interested to join. Okay, and we are like reaching the limit of the time of our interview.
Great.
And I need to say that I'm glad to have you here, but not only me, we are glad that you take the time to come and to share this beautiful information with us and with our beloved viewers. And that's really good. I love how you expressed about our country, our food, our culture, and the tourism here, and all the work that Peace Corps are made and are doing here in El Salvador. And I'm glad to hear that. And I feel like, let's say, thankful with you and with Peace Corps to help our communities. I'm so glad to hear that. And thanks for being here in this edition of ICC Voices. And for our viewers, I invite you to follow us in our social media. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel if you would like to keep in contact with us. And if you are willing to know more about Peace Corps, please, I recommend you to look for the page Peace Corps in Google if you're willing to know more information. And of course, if you are willing to join Peace Corps, please look for the page. Also, I mentioned that they have a YouTube channel where you can see videos of how they are working with communities and the projects they made with them. And that's all. And I invite you to be here in our next chapter on September 10th. So please be here. And don't forget, keep learning, dreaming, and finding new perspectives. This is ICC Voices, and thanks for being here. Bye.